going on, everyone? Over 81% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red today. $2.5 trillion was wiped off the face of the earth with all of this craziness. We are seeing the largest tariff wave in over 100 years. Trade uncertainty has soared to nearly 3 times the level that it was at during the trade war during Trump's first term. Apple had its steepest drop in over 5 years, falling by over 9% and losing over $300 billion in market value today. Trump said that his new tariff plan is going very well and that markets are going to boom. And we are witnessing history right now. Seriously, there is a lot of money to be made in situations like this one. We have a lot to cover today, and it's a great time to be a trader, Tom.
Yeah, it definitely is. Even though like the market's going down and a lot of people are probably upset at that downwards action, I know that there is a lot of traders that are also very excited because we're starting to see the VIX pop off in a crazy, crazy way. Once again, like looking at the daily chart of VIX, it's definitely breaking out above recent highs, and it's back to levels that we saw in the middle of 2024 during one of those massive sell-offs, closing right around 30. So volatility is definitely here, Mike. And Trump made some pretty crazy statements today. You know, going to the heat map and seeing all the bloodiness. He was asked today about the stock market, and he said it's going very well, and he insists markets will boom, you know, like despite the sell-off currently going on there. And at the end of the day, I guess we'll have to see how things go, right? Because this is exactly what he said he was going to do, and it looks like he's putting these plans into action, whether you like it or not, right? But so looking at the market here today, Mike, the SPY sold off, and I thought that close was extremely brutal there. Whenever we see a close like that, of course, that is something very crazy to look at, and I would say, the market definitely didn't hold up all that well today, despite Trump's comments. I was expecting maybe a bit of like a bullish run off of that in the middle of the day, but man, that end of day run definitely hurt things.
Yeah, there was no mercy there. If it sold off not only into close, but through close. Like we could see it's still bleeding in after hours right now. So there is a clear imbalance of buying and selling right now, to say the least. And it's safe to say that not all companies are affected equally. Apple, like I mentioned in the intro, has been one of the hardest hit companies, as we are set to quite literally put a 54% tariff on China. Yesterday it was announced that, we have that 34% reciprocal tariff going on to China, but we already had 20% tariffs on them. So Apple's obviously suffering a lot from this because China is a major manufacturing hub for them. And today Apple conducts basically no mass production of their products in the United States, and it is it's tough for Apple right now.
It definitely is. I know Tim Cook, remember, he kissed the ring, so to say, whenever Trump became president, and I know his company lost quite a bit of valuation today, which is not a good sign for them. And, like you said, all companies are not created equal in this. I know Nike is another one that is hit very hard in the short term. We can go look at their chart today. They were even selling off a ton yesterday, closed down over 14%. I know, obviously Vietnam tariffs were especially high at 46%, even higher than like the China tariffs, because I guess the imbalance there was a little bit more. But at the end of the day, Mike, there's a lot of companies affected. I know GRMN was another one that people were talking about a lot today. Dell does a lot of importing. It looks like they were down 18%. HPQ, one that all the gamers out there probably know, is Logitech. They're getting hit awfully hard as well.
Yeah, so it is crazy. I know Apple certainly has like the most attention right now. So if we ultra focus on that for a second, what would you say are the key levels here, and what are you seeing in terms of the charts?
Yeah, Apple was closing down very close to $200 here. We can see it closed right around like 201.35, or at least touched it right around the end of the day. So I will be watching for that $200 breakdown coming tomorrow. Of course, below there are some major levels coming up. I do like this major support on the daily chart right around like 195 to 196. And honestly, that extends up very close to 200 there. It's a very big like $5 range between like 195 and 200. So have that on the radar with Apple. If we start to see a sell-off underneath there, we're going to see Apple at prices it hasn't been at in quite a while.
Yeah, and if we go back to the Apple chart towards the end of 2018, which is what we saw with Trump's first trade war, we could see it had price action where, of course, it was insanely brutal, but within this just disgusting drop, it had a handful of like decent-sized green days along the way as well, and that is something like that I'm kind of expecting this time around as well, until at least the situation changes. So I do definitely see value though in looking and seeing like how Apple and just the market in general has reacted in situations like the past, especially like trade ones like we're seeing now.
Yeah, and I know a lot of traders are freaking out right now, and they're like, wow, we're starting to enter free fall mode, and I know that that's definitely a negative, but, get ready to start buying in over the next few months and over the next year or so. Some of these sell-offs can last quite a long time, some longer than others, of course, but we'll see how long this one ends up lasting for. With Apple right now, Mike, from the high, or at least, the high on the daily chart here, pretty much to where it got at today, it's down 22% from highs. That is quite the pullback. If we look at this daily chart, if we start to really pull back under like that 190 mark, we're going to be down like 35%, maybe down to that next 170 support down there. But definitely interesting to look at with Apple, and I will be watching them very closely and, having some money on the sidelines, right? Ready to fire off and dollar cost average into some of these dips. Even like Nvidia and AMD are seeing some pretty brutal action. Like Nvidia is right at $100.
Yeah, when there's blood on the streets, there's a lot of opportunity in a stock market sense, and that is especially true for situations like we're seeing now. A lot of what will end up playing out will depend on how China and the rest of the world retaliate, and especially while we're still talking about Apple, I think it's certainly worth noting that China already threatened retaliation, and like here's the thing, like we imposed 54% tariffs on China. That is massive, and China said that they're going to have no choice but to retaliate. So that's something worth paying attention to as well, because they can release these retaliations at any point.
Yeah, and the thing is like then they're going to retaliate and then we're going to retaliate back. And at the end of the day, they already had tariffs on us. So I guess I don't know, maybe we should like do something where everybody just stops all the tariffs, right? That kind of sounds like the common sense idea. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But either way, Mike, this is definitely causing a lot of commotion here. Something funny I found today is even the penguins, they can't even hide from the tariffs. This is pretty insane, guys. There's uninhabited islands that I honestly have never even heard of before that are getting tariffed here, like the Christmas Islands, Heard Islands, and McDonald's Islands, Norfolk Islands. Like this is getting pretty crazy.
No one is safe. So yeah, definitely some crazy news there. But there was some also interesting stats and data today that basically show that the probability of a recession is rising pretty quickly. We can see on Kalshi, traders are now pricing in over a 56% chance that we see a recession this year, and just a few months ago it was like 20%.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. I'm looking at the weekly now. We go back to the all. Like, it was pretty insane on like January 16th, 17th. We were seeing that all the way down around 20%. Now the market's kind of pricing in 56% there. And, there's like over 1 million volume on this, which is kind of surprising. It's blowing my mind how much more volume is starting to come into some of these things on Kalshi here in this type of way, Mike. I found that pretty interesting. But something that I think that will interest traders a little bit more here is maybe a little bit of a bright spot of what's been going on today with all of these tariff decisions and all the terrible movement, right? There was one bright spot today, and that is that yields were falling and falling quite a bit. We can see that the US 10Y and US 20Y were both dipping a ton today under recent supports. I really thought that US 10Y move was a pretty rough drop there. There are some tickers with this, like if we do see yields continue to sell off, you can watch TLT. This is a very popular one that follows the 20-year treasury bond. And if we do see like the yields start to fall, TLT should start to rise quite a bit here in the short term. So that is something I'm looking at. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of benefits if yields do continue down like this. And, while Trump's doing all these tariffs, we might start to see like mortgage rates get a little bit better. And maybe that'll help spur some movement in the housing market.
Exactly, yeah. So it's like the bad news is that we have an increased chance of a recession. The good news is that interest rates will fall. And some other things that were pretty interesting is that if we go to the CME probability tool, we can see that there's actually 4 interest rates now priced in for 2025, and this shifted pretty drastically today. So it looks like Powell might be cutting rates pretty soon, and that could help support the market a bit. So we will see what happens there. But some other important things that are certainly worth keeping in mind is as we head into crazy market situations like we're in now, of course, we certainly have a lot of new traders in the market, and I can't believe I even have to say this, but we have to bring up the circuit breaker information, Tom. So for those of you who aren't aware, if the market falls enough, the market will quite literally stop trading, depending on how bad it falls. So there are these things called circuit breakers, and for like the major indices, like the S&P 500, Dow, and NASDAQ, if, let's say, they fall by 7%, like all trading will be halted for 15 minutes, assuming that the drop occurs before 3:25 p.m. Eastern Time. If the market falls by 13%, we will see another halt. And if the market falls by 20%, that is when the market just stops trading for the day. So I just wanted to share this information with everyone. Again, we do have a handful of new traders in the market, and we haven't seen a circuit breaker since like the COVID days.
Yeah, definitely. I actually found that the last time we had a circuit breaker was like March 18th of 2020, which was pretty insane due to a 7% drop there with the S&P 500. But Mike, I am like looking here at the SPX today. It closed down 4.84%. Man, I was honestly getting worried about that this morning. Whenever we opened up down a couple of percent, I was like, gosh, if this sell-off accelerates a little bit more, we might actually be into that circuit breaker territory, which would be a pretty crazy thing to say there. But I know that the overall market has been crazy lately, and I would not put it past it, right? So I figured we would definitely let you guys know.
All right, Tom. So as we look at SPY right now, what are the key levels to watch? What are you seeing on the charts? And what should we know heading into tomorrow?
Today, I saw a really bad intraday trend that really bothered me, where we posted a lot of lower highs, I meant to say, where we're seeing the SPY really start to trend to the downside. There was that 550 resistance that we were watching very closely this morning, rejected there, and just kept rejecting down all day off of that before that really bad move into market close. I am watching 535 as the first upcoming support here on the S&P 500 or the SPY. I do have some more support down around 532 and then even right around 528. I had to go back a long ways to find these levels, of course, because the SPY has not been here in a long time, but that's what I'm watching to the downside. The main thing for me, Mike, is seeing good momentum and good like breaks under these intraday lows. Around the end of day today, we saw a really good breakdown. Even this morning, we broke intraday lows or pre-market lows and made a good move lower. You just have to be careful of not getting stuck into one direction, because the market will have these pretty good chops intraday, even though like it was an overall red day.
No doubt. In crazy situations like this one, there's also a lot of money to be made in, like, you could say, like, inverse ETFs. So if you look at SQQQ or SPXS or even UVXY, we can see all of these things just soared today. So, certainly keep these on the radar for potential ways to profit when the market is in free fall. UVXY popped up by 37% today in one day, which is insane to say. So certainly keep these ones on the radar, and it's a fun time to be a trader.
It really is. And then we're not even done with the week, right? I thought, oh my gosh, there's nothing on the earnings calendar for Friday. We're all free and clear, right? But we're not. We actually have some non-farm payrolls and the unemployment rate tomorrow morning. And then the man, the myth, the legend, Jerome Powell, is going to be coming out here giving an economic outlook at the Society for Advancing Business Editing and Writing. It's an annual conference in Arlington, Virginia, but Powell will be speaking at 11:25 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, and I'm expecting that traders are going to be expecting him to have a lot to say.
Exactly. All right, Tom, let's get right into some setups and predictions then. A stock that is close on watch is Nvidia, and it is to the downside. It's getting closer and closer to that key $100 support level. Nvidia, like all other stocks today, got crushed, and there is a lot of bearishness here in basically any way you look at it. $100 is going to be a key level of support. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the stock or we saw bulls come in to support that level at least a little bit. But if we see a key break through that, it'll just be nasty, just like the SPY levels in yesterday's video. So Nvidia is certainly on my bearish radar. Basically, $100 is a key level. Watch out for it. We might see a little bit of chop, but if we see a break below that, things can get nuts.
Yeah, it definitely could. That is a pretty crazy thing to see with Nvidia here at 100. We're seeing so many of these big stocks at these crucial levels. Apple was at a pretty crucial one too, pretty close to 200. But with my first setup, I'm actually looking at Oxy to the downside here. Oxy and the oil stocks got crushed today. Oh my gosh, and OPEC Plus came out with even accelerating output hikes, which is pretty insane. They announced output hikes for April. Now they're even talking about their May output hikes even being accelerated. So that is a pretty crazy thing to say. And we're seeing Oxy start to break through a major support at $45. And at the same time, we're seeing crude oil come back down to do a third test of its major support, very close to like $65 to $66. So if we start to see crude flush through support and we continue to see Oxy moving a bearish way in the short term, watch the oil stocks to the downside. I was pretty surprised today to see how negatively they reacted to all this news, but of course the OPEC news plays a big factor as well, but the OPEC news went under the radar and not many people are talking about it.
Good to know, and that stock certainly moved quite a bit, so I will keep it close on watch as well. But another stock that is certainly on the radar is Intel, and it is to the upside. They actually had some good news today where them and Taiwan Semiconductor tentatively agreed to form a chip-making joint venture where Taiwan Semiconductor would operate Intel's factory. So this is definitely good news for Intel. They ended up in the green on a day where everything else was selling off, and it's certainly on the radar for a potential continuation.
Yeah, that was some really bullish price action today. And man, that deal with TSM was awesome. And, you know, they were set to close today down around like 5% or something until that news came out and really helped them get going again. So great job by Intel. I thought that was pretty awesome to see. And they bounced pretty well on the daily. But with my next setup, I'm looking at Bank of America to the downside. You can see today they had a really massive sell-off, down 11% for a big bank. That is definitely a big drop, but they have actually been falling quite a bit recently off of highs, and I am watching a key support for tomorrow right around $37. And we can go to the Bookmap and see today there was a lot of buyers stacked up around 37 at the end of the day, and even as the SPYs sold off into after hours, Bank of America held this level. So if we see a good flush below 37 tomorrow and we see some good momentum, keep watching Bank of America to the downside. If we go back to the chart, you can see there was a lot of good momentum early on today. We need to see some solid momentum like that tomorrow. If we wake up and stocks are kind of gapping back up and recovering, then of course, don't start just running into put options or anything.
No doubt. Now it is more important than ever before to trade smart, which means have stop losses, follow the money, have a thesis or a reason for any trade you ever place, and especially be willing to adapt. We are in a market environment where new crazy news can come out at any second. We have basically every country on earth who can retaliate at any moment, and Trump can say anything at any time, all of which can significantly impact how stocks move. So you have to adapt with that. Basically, protect yourself, number one, follow the money, and don't get too anchored to any one position, bias, or idea. It's very important right now. So definitely keep that in mind. And besides that, Tom, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have FSLR to the upside.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. FSLR actually had a really good pop today, but they're able to break above like $140.50. Keep watching them to the upside. I really like this solid 140 resistance intraday, but it extended up a little bit higher. So if they can break like 140.50, watch for a nice breakout.
All right, with the next one, we have CCL to the downside.
Yeah, the cruise lines and airlines could not hide from this selling today. If CCL breaks down under 17, keep watching for more selling pressure.
And then with the last one, we have GRMN also to the downside.
Yeah, Garmin, that was a pretty nasty drop today by them, and they're straddling a 180 support, or they're very close to it. So if they drop under 180, keep watching for them down as well.
All right, so we have these stocks on the radar for potential continuations tomorrow, if and only if they break through the levels listed. Again, adapt with the market as it moves. But besides that, let's jump right into today's $526,000 big money trade, and we are looking at ticker symbol SE. Today, the big money bought the 100 strike put options that expire on July 18th of 2025. Like I said, this is a $526,000 trade. These put options are a little bit far out of the money, so they are high risk, high reward. SE is a giant company in Singapore, and as we know from yesterday's announcement, a lot of the Asian countries have been hit with the highest tariff rates. SE fell by over 10% today, so it certainly is a stock that has potential to, you could say, move quite a bit over the coming weeks and months. I don't love how far out of the money these put options are, but that is, the give and take with a high risk, high reward position like this, because while it will take a lot for these put options to expire in the money, what comes along with that is increased reward.
Yeah, definitely. That's a pretty crazy drop off today. And let's just say the next few weeks, maybe over the next month, we see a nice drop down to 103, 100. Of course, you could sell out a little bit early. I do like that $100 strike. It is pretty far out though, which is scary, but 100 is a pretty major support down here. And I wonder if maybe they are targeting a move towards that support in a way. But either way, we're seeing a lot of volatility right now. And with this company being one in Singapore specifically is definitely something that has a bit more of I would say a catalyst behind this trade as well, which gives me a bit more confidence on it than I would say just a random trade.
No doubt. And on a side note, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. New news is breaking out by the day, and we cover everything you have to know every single day, whether it be important tariff-related news, earnings, events, important SPY levels, charts, or any other information. So definitely consider subscribing to get our videos recommended to you more often. We post all the time, but we also want to give a giant shout-out to today's member of the day, Chander, who had a $43,000 day today. Huge shout out to you, and great job with your Tesla put position. It is awesome to see screenshots like this one, and I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more big profit posts here soon.
Yeah, that's fantastic. 43K here. And my gosh, Mike, on Tesla put options, that was definitely the time to buy them, right? Right before the market closed yesterday. I saw so many great profits in the profits channel today of people who were hedging into that event. So great job, Chander. I hope we continue to see great profits. And if you guys want to become member of the day, head into the Discord and post up your profits as well.
Exactly. And then also, if you guys are into short-term trading, now's the best time to get into the trading floor at the lowest price possible. If you use coupon code BIGMONEY, you'll get full access to our army of trading robots, daily big money plays, weekly live events. You could chat with Tom and myself all day long and basically access everything you could need to make the most out of this market. There's going to be so many different opportunities that come up, not only in a short-term sense, but I would say arguably even more exciting in a long-term sense as well. So definitely check out that first link down below. Don't forget to use coupon code BIGMONEY to save $100 off the yearly plan. But yeah, it is a crazy time to be a trader. We have one more day left of the week. Let's make it count and keep your eyes on the news tomorrow. Any tariff-related updates will shift the markets quite a bit. Thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.